The Shining Armor Within, The Soul's Knighthood in a Changing World by David Russo. Introduction. The radiance beneath the armor. There is a part of you that has never been wounded. It may have been covered. It may have been forgotten. It may have been doubted, silenced, or buried beneath years of expectation and experience, but it has never been broken. From the moment you entered this world, you were taught to tend to what changes. You learned to protect your body, to shape your identity, to defend your reputation. You were shown how to polish your appearance and strengthen your position. You were warned about dangers that could harm you, diminish you, or define you. But no one told you that beneath all of it, beneath the skin, beneath the story, beneath the successes and failures, there is something in you that cannot be harmed. The ancients hinted at it. The Bhagavad Gita speaks of a self that cannot be cut by weapons or burned by fire. The Bible describes an armor not made of steel, but of truth and righteousness. Across time and tradition, mystics and sages have pointed toward the same mystery. Within the human being dwells something eternal. This book calls that eternal essence the shining armor. Not armor you must earn, not armor you must build, not armor you must beg the world to recognize. It is the nature of the soul itself. The body is subject to time. It grows, matures, weakens, and eventually returns to the earth. The mind is subject to influence. It absorbs culture, reacts to circumstance, and shifts with perception. Emotions rise and fall like tides. Roles change. Titles fade. Relationships transform. Yet there is an interior radiance that does not fluctuate with any of it. This radiance is not ego. It does not boast. It does not compete. It does not demand validation. It stands quietly sovereign. It is the calm center within the storm, the steady flame in a wind-swept world. Why, then, do so many of us feel unprotected? Why do we move through life as though exposed, fragile, easily shattered? Because we have mistaken the surface for the self. We have believed that we are only the body that can be criticized, the identity that can be rejected, the role that can be replaced. We have forgotten our knighthood. We have forgotten that the soul is not a passive passenger in this life. It is a luminous presence, forged in eternity, moving through time. Knighthood is not about conquest. It is about alignment. It is not about domination. It is about devotion. Devotion to truth, integrity, courage, and compassion. The knight does not shine because he seeks admiration. He shines because his armor reflects a light greater than himself. So it is with you. This book is not an argument. It is a remembrance. It is an invitation to stand still long enough to sense the gleam beneath your fears. To recognize that what is most essential in you has never rusted, never cracked, never dimmed. To walk through this changing world not as someone scrambling for protection, but as someone who already carries it. The storms will come, the seasons will turn, the body will change, but the shining armor remains, and it has been yours all along. Chapter 1. The night before the mirror. Before stepping onto the battlefield, a knight stands alone. The air is quiet. The world waits. In that stillness, he turns toward a polished surface, not to admire himself, but to remember himself. The gleam of the armor reflects more than a figure. It reflects a vow, a devotion, a calling. The mirror does not create the knight. It reveals him. So it is with the soul. Each of us stands before mirrors every day. Some are made of glass, others are made of opinions. Some are shaped by achievement, others by failure. We look into the faces of others and search for confirmation of who we are. We measure ourselves against expectations, roles, and comparisons. We ask silently, am I enough? Am I worthy? Am I seen? That these mirrors are unstable. They distort. They magnify flaws and minimize strength. They shimmer with approval one moment and cloud with criticism the next. When we rely on these reflections to define us, our identity becomes fragile. We polish what the world praises. We hide what the world questions. We begin to believe that we are the image in the mirror, rather than the one standing before it. The knight knows better. He understands that the armor he wears does not depend on who is watching. Its shine is not sustained by applause. It does not dull because someone disapproves. The armor reflects light because it is aligned with light. To walk the path of the soul's knighthood, one must learn to step back from false mirrors. The body changes, and no mirror can stop that. The mind changes, and no reflection can hold it still. Even reputation shifts like windblown sand. If you anchor your identity to what changes, you will feel as though you are always losing yourself. But there is a deeper mirror, one that does not hang on walls or live in the eyes of others. It is silence. In silence, the clamor of comparison fades. In stillness, the soul becomes perceptible. You begin to sense a presence within you that is not anxious for validation. It does not strain to prove itself. It simply is. Standing before this inner mirror can feel unfamiliar at first. Without distraction, you may notice the fears you have carried or the stories you have told about yourself. Yet if you remain long enough, something steadier emerges, a quiet strength that has always been there. The knight does not ask the mirror, "How do I appear?" He asks, "Am I aligned?" Alignment is the true measure of the soul. Alignment between what you believe and how you live, between what you value and what you pursue, between what you know in your depths and what you express in the world. When alignment is present, the armor shines naturally. There is no strain in it, no performance, no pretense. You were never meant to live as a reflection. You were meant to live as radiance. Before you step into the battles of your own life, before you defend, strive, argue, or achieve, stand before the inner mirror, not to judge yourself, not to perfect yourself, but to remember yourself. The knight you are has never depended on the mirror's approval. The armor was already shining. Chapter 2. The armor that does not rust. Everything in the physical world obeys the law of change. Iron left in rain will corrode, stone exposed to wine will erode, even mountains bow over centuries to time. The body follows the same quiet command. It grows, ripens, softens, and slowly yields to gravity and age. No strength can permanently resist this rhythm. No discipline can halt it forever. Yet within you is something that does not participate in this decay. The sages of the Bhagavad Gita describe the soul as unborn and dying, untouched by weapon or flame. The Bible speaks of a spiritual armor, truth, righteousness, faith, not forged in earthly fire but rooted in the eternal. Across traditions, the message echoes, what is essential in you cannot rust. Still, many live as though they are entirely made of metal that corrodes. We fear aging because we think we are only the body. We fear criticism because we think we are only reputation. We fear failure because we think we are only achievement. When any of these are threatened, we feel as though we ourselves are dissolving. But consider this, have you not already changed countless times? The child you were is gone. The opinions you once defended may have softened. Dreams have shifted. Friendships have come and gone. Entire versions of you have risen and fallen like seasons, and yet something has remained. There is an observer within you who has watched every transformation, a steady awareness that has been present in childhood, in adolescence, in maturity. That awareness has not aged in the same way the body has aged. It has not hardened with the same scars. It has not withered with disappointment. That awareness is closer to your soul than any label you carry. The shining armor of the soul does not rust because it is not constructed from the materials of the world. It is not built from status, wealth, physical strength, or approval. It is made of essence, the quiet, incorruptible core of your being. This does not mean life cannot wound you. Experiences can leave impressions, words can bruise the heart, loss can feel like fracture, but the deepest part of you remains intact beneath every impact. Rust forms, when metal is exposed to conditions it cannot withstand. The soul, however, was not designed to be weakened by the elements of time. It moves through time without belonging to it. When you begin to identify more with what does not rust than with what does, something shifts. Fear loosens its grip. Comparison loses urgency. The frantic need to preserve an image begins to soften. You still care for the body. You still honor your responsibilities, but you are no longer terrified of change. You understand that while circumstances may weather the outer layers of your life, they cannot corrode your essence. The knight who knows his armor cannot rust does not panic in the rain. He stands steady. So can you. The world will continue to change. Your reflection will continue to evolve, but beneath every alteration, the shining armor remains, untarnished, unbreakable, quietly radiant. Chapter 3. The Forging Fire. No knight receives shining armor without passing through fire. Before armor gleams, it is placed in flame. Before it protects, it is hammered, heated, and shaped. The forge is not gentle. It roars. It consumes. It demands surrender from the raw metal placed within it. If metal could speak, it might call the fire cruel. Yet without fire, there is no strength. Without heat, no transformation. Without pressure, no refinement. So it is with the soul's journey through human life. There are seasons that feel like furnaces, seasons of loss, betrayal, failure, confusion, illness, or loneliness. In these moments, it can seem as though something is being destroyed. Certainties melt, plans collapse, identities you once relied upon begin to soften and fall away. You may ask, why is this happening to me? You may feel as though you are being reduced rather than refined. But what if the fire is not consuming your essence? What if it is revealing it? Impurities rise to the surface when metal is heated. They were always present, but hidden within the structure. Only fire exposes them so they can be removed. Likewise, hardship has a way of bringing hidden fears, attachments, and illusions into view. The fire does not create weakness. It reveals where weakness already lived. In the midst of suffering, you may discover how much of your identity was tied to comfort, control, or approval. You may see where pride disguised itself as strength, or where avoidance disguised itself as peace. The heat of life exposes these things, not to shame you, but to free you, because what is false cannot survive true fire, yet what is real endures. There is a quiet moment in every trial when you realize something astonishing. Despite everything that has burned away, you are still here. Something steady remains. Something watches the flames without being reduced to ash. That presence is the soul. The forging fire does not create the shining armor. It reveals that it was never fragile to begin with. What melts are the layers that were never truly you. The expectations borrowed from others. The identities shaped by fear. The masks worn for protection. When these fall away, you may feel exposed. But beneath the exposure is strength, a clearer, cleaner radiance. The knight does not curse the forge once he stands in his armor. He understands that the fire gave form to what would protect him. If you are walking through heat right now, take heart. The intensity of the flame does not measure your failure. It measures the depth of your transformation. You are not being destroyed. You are being clarified. The soul cannot be burned away. It can only be revealed. And when the fire quiets, when the smoke thins and the hammering ceases, you may find that what remains shines more brilliantly than before, not because you avoid the flames, but because you pass through them. Chapter 4. The Helmet of Clarity. A knight does not enter battle bareheaded. The helmet is not decoration. It is protection for perception. A single unguarded moment, a single distorted view of the field, can lead to unnecessary harm. Vision determines response. Interpretation shapes action. In the same way, the mind is the gateway through which we experience the world. What you believe about a situation often matters more than the situation itself. A passing comment can become an insult. A delay can become rejection. A challenge can become proof of inadequacy. The mind, left undisciplined, can turn shadows into enemies and whispers into accusations. Without clarity, even the strongest armor feels useless. Clarity is not mere intelligence. It is not the accumulation of facts or the ability to argue well. True clarity is alignment between perception and truth. It is seeing what is, not what fear projects, nor what ego prefers. The unguarded mind is vulnerable to distortion. It absorbs opinions without discernment. It replays past wounds as if they are present realities. It anticipates disasters that have not occurred. When the mind is clouded, the soul's radiance seems dim. Not because it has faded, but because it is obscure. Imagine a helmet visor cover in dust. The knight may assume the world has grown dark, when in truth it is the lens that needs clearing. Much of spiritual growth is the gentle cleaning of perception. Silence is one cloth. Reflection is another. Honest self-inquiry is a third. When you pause long enough to question your assumptions, you begin to notice how many of them were never solid. You start to see where fear colored your interpretation, where pride narrowed your view, where past pain shaped present expectation. Clarity does not always feel comforting at first. Sometimes it reveals that the enemy you were fighting was within. Resentment, insecurity, attachment. But once seen clearly, these lose much of their power. The helmet of clarity protects not by hiding you from reality, but by allowing you to face reality as it truly is. When the mind grows quiet, something remarkable happens. You begin to respond rather than react. You choose rather than impulse. You listen before defending. You act from alignment instead of anxiety. The soul does not panic. It does not exaggerate. It does not rush to conclusions. Its nature is steady awareness. To wear the helmet of clarity is to allow that steady awareness to guide the mind. You will still encounter conflict. You will still face uncertainty, but you will no longer be tossed by every passing thought. You will no longer mistake imagination for inevitability. A clear mind does not eliminate life's battles. It ensures you enter them awake. And an awake knight is far more powerful than a frightened one. Chapter 5. The Breastplate of Integrity. The heart is both powerful and tender. It is the seat of love, conviction, longing, and devotion. It is where promises are made and where they are broken. It is where courage rises and where fear quietly settles. Because the heart holds what matters most, it must be guarded wisely. For a knight, the breastplate protects the vital center. Without it, even the strongest warrior is vulnerable. Integrity is the breastplate of the soul. Integrity is more than honesty. It is wholeness. It is the state of being undivided within yourself, when your words match your values, when your actions reflect your deepest knowing, when your private life and public life are not at war. You stand protected. Many wounds of the heart do not come from others. They come from within. Each time you betray your own conscience, something fractures. Each time you silence what you know is right in order to gain approval, a subtle crack forms. Each time you compromise your truth for comfort or recognition, the heart feels the strain. These fractures are not always visible. Outwardly, life may continue smoothly, but inwardly, there is tension, a quiet dissonance between who you are and how you are living. Integrity restores alignment. When you choose honesty over image, courage over convenience, authenticity over performance, something seals within you. The heart steadies. The inner conflict softens. You no longer need to remember which version of yourself you presented to whom. You are simply yourself. This does not mean perfection. Knights are not flawless, and neither are you. Integrity is not about never making mistakes. It is about returning quickly to truth when you do. It is about admitting error rather than defending illusion. It is about choosing growth over pride. The soul's armor shines most brightly, and there is no split within. Consider how much energy is required to maintain a divided life, to project strength while feeling fragile, to speak kindness while harboring resentment, to claim values that are not practiced. That division drains vitality. It weakens resolve. Integrity simplifies. It allows you to move through the world with a quiet confidence, not because you are superior, but because you are aligned. When criticism comes, you can examine it without collapsing. When praise comes, you can receive it without becoming inflated. Your center remains steady because it is anchored in truth. The breastplate of integrity does not prevent heartbreak. Love always carries risk, but it ensures that when your heart is tested, it is not also burdened by self-betrayal. To live with integrity is to live armored from within. No audience is required. No applause is needed. The protection comes from wholeness itself, and a whole heart is far stronger than a guarded one. Chapter 6. The Shield of Discernment. A knight does not attempt to block every blow with his body. He carries a shield. The shield is not a weapon of aggression. It is an instrument of wisdom. It does not chase the enemy. It does not prove strength. It simply knows what to allow and what to refuse. Without a shield, even the strongest armor will eventually be overwhelmed by constant impact. In the same way, the soul requires discernment. Discernment is the sacred ability to distinguish, to recognize what is true and what is distorted, what is yours to carry and what belongs to another, what deserves your energy and what must be gently declined. In a world overflowing with opinions, expectations, and emotional projections, this shield is essential. Not every criticism is truth. Not every opportunity is purpose. Not every emotion is instruction. Without discernment, we absorb everything. We internalize other people's fears. We take responsibility for burdens that were never assigned to us. We say yes when our spirit is whispering no. Over time, exhaustion sets in, not because life is inherently crushing, but because we have stopped filtering what enters our inner world. Discernment is not judgment. It is clarity with compassion. It allows you to listen fully without agreeing blindly. It allows you to care without carrying what is not yours. It allows you to remain open without becoming porous. Many confuse spirituality with endless accommodation. They believe being loving means accepting all treatment, entertaining every demand, surrendering every boundary. But even the most devoted knight carries a shield. Protection does not contradict love. It preserves it. When you strengthen the shield of discernment, you begin to ask different questions. Is this aligned with my values? Does this decision expand my integrity or fracture it? Am I responding from truth or from fear of rejection? You become less reactive and more intentional. You learn to pause before committing your time, your energy, your heart. You recognize that every yes, given carelessly, is a quiet no to something more aligned. Discernment also protects your inner dialogue. Not every thought deserves belief. Some are echoes of old wounds. Some are inherited narratives. Some are simply no's. The shield allows you to observe a thought without surrendering to it. You are not required to fight every battle. You are not required to answer every voice. You are not required to carry every weight. The soul stands steady when it is not cluttered with what does not belong to it. A knight with a shield does not live in fear. He moves with confidence because he knows he can withstand impact without absorbing it. So can you. When discernment becomes natural, peace follows, not because the world has grown quieter, but because you have grown wiser in what you allow to enter your sacred space. And that wisdom is its own form of strength. Chapter 7. The Sword of Truth. A knight's sword is not carried for display. It is not meant for intimidation, nor is it a symbol of dominance. The sword is a tool of precision. It exists to cut cleanly, to separate what must be separated. Truth functions in the same way. Without truth, the soul becomes entangled. We wrap ourselves in stories that feel protective but quietly imprison us. We justify behaviors that do not align with our values. We cling to illusions because they feel safer than clarity. Over time, confusion thickens like vines around the heart. The sword of truth cuts through those vines. Truth is rarely loud. It does not need theatrics. It is steady, exact, and unyielding. It does not bend to preference or shrink to avoid discomfort. When truth enters a situation, it reveals what is real, even if what is real unsettles us. This is why many avoid it. Truth may require admitting that a path you are on is no longer aligned. It may ask you to acknowledge pain you have minimized. It may expose pride disguised as strength or fear disguised as caution. The sword does not wound for the sake of harm, but it can sting when it removes what we have grown attached to. Yet what truth removes was never meant to define you. There is a difference between destructive force and sacred cutting. Destruction leaves chaos. Sacred cutting creates clarity. When a surgeon cuts, it is to heal. When a gardener prunes, it is to allow growth. When the soul wields truth, it is to restore alignment. The first place the sword must be used is within. Before speaking truth outwardly, you must allow it to refine you inwardly. Where are you pretending? Where are you compromising? Where are you blaming others for what you are unwilling to confront in yourself? Self-honesty is the beginning of spiritual knighthood. It takes courage to stand before your own reflection and say, "This is where I have been misaligned." It takes humility to correct your course without self-condemnation. But once you do, something powerful happens. Confusion loses its grip. You feel lighter, stronger, clearer. When truth is integrated within, speaking it outwardly becomes different. It is no longer sharp with anger or coated in superiority. It becomes firm yet compassionate, direct yet measured. The goal is not to defeat another, but to illuminate reality. The sword of truth should never be swung recklessly. Words can wound deeply when driven by ego. But when guided by the soul, truth liberates. It frees you from false identities. It frees others from misunderstanding. It frees situations from silent decay. A knight who refuses to draw his sword when needed allows injustice and illusion to spread. A knight who draws it carelessly causes unnecessary harm. Wisdom lies in knowing when and how to use it. You are not called to sever everything. You are called to cut away what obscures your integrity and dims your radiance. Truth is not your enemy. It is your instrument of freedom. And when wielded with courage and compassion, it keeps the shining armor bright. Chapter 8. The Steed of Purpose. A knight does not wander aimlessly across the battlefield. Even the strongest armor and sharpest sword are powerless without direction. The horse, loyal, swift, and steadfast, carries the knight to where he must be. Without the steed, momentum is lost. Action becomes random. Energy dissipates in motion without meaning. Purpose is the steed of the soul. It is not a list of goals or a measure of success. It is not the applause of the world, nor the accumulation of achievements. It is the force that carries you forward with intention, the inner current that guides thought, word, and action. Purpose moves the soul in alignment with its essence, allowing it to shine in the midst of chaos. Many drift through life without their steed. They are pulled by circumstances, driven by obligation, or driven by fleeting desires. They move constantly, yet feel lost, exhausted, or hollow. Strength without direction is wasted energy. Armor without a steed is heavy and burdensome. Purpose is not always grand. It does not require recognition. It does not demand that anyone witness your journey. Sometimes, it is the quiet choice to act with kindness. Sometimes, it is the persistent commitment to live truthfully. Sometimes, it is the subtle courage to continue walking a path that feels unseen. A knight who knows his steed can trust it to carry him across obstacles, over rugged terrain, and through storms. He focuses not on every stone in the path, but on the destination, the alignment between his journey and his inner calling. Without purpose, the soul grows restless. It may shine brightly for a moment, only to dim in distraction or aimless motion. With purpose, radiance becomes consistent, steady, and unstoppable. Even when the world shifts, the direction remains true. The steed of purpose does not eliminate difficulty. Hills will rise, rivers will block, storms will batter, but a purposeful soul moves forward, unshaken in spirit, anchored in intent. Each challenge becomes a terrain to navigate rather than a reason to stop. Ask yourself, what carries me? Not what entertains you. Not what comforts you. Not what looks impressive. What aligns with the deepest truth of your being? What moves your soul? That is your steed. Mount it. Ride it. Let it carry you, and you will discover that even the heaviest armor feels light when the journey has meaning. Chapter 9. The tarnish of forgetfulness. Even the brightest armor can appear dull and neglected. A knight does not simply forge his armor and leave it in the chest, hoping it will remain radiant. Without care, even the strongest metal grows tarnished. Dust settles, moisture seeps, the brilliance is obscured, not lost, but hidden. The soul is much the same. We live in a world that pulls attention upward, into the nose of demands, distractions, and expectations. In the rush of life, it is easy to forget the armor we already possess. We forget that the soul is steady, luminous, and incorruptible. We begin to measure worth by what is fleeting: appearance, achievement, praise, or status. In doing so, we cover the shine with layers of comparison, fear, and self-doubt. Forgetfulness dulls perception. It makes the inner night seem distant, the soul appear smaller, the armor heavy. We mistake the temporary tarnish for permanent loss. We believe we must polish or rebuild what has never truly faded. Remembrance restores radiance. The process is simple but profound. Pause. Reflect. Remember. Return your attention to the essence within. Practice gratitude for the strength that has carried you. Recall moments when courage surfaced despite fear, when clarity cut through confusion, when integrity guided action even under pressure. These are the sparks that polish the armor from within. Spiritual practices, silence, meditation, or contemplation serve as cloths and awls for this purpose. They do not create the shine, they uncover it. Each act of remembrance clears the dust, removes the residue of distraction, and reveals the light that has always been present. Forgetfulness is not failure, it is a symptom of living in a world of change. Awareness and intention are the keys to correction. When you remember, the armor shines once more, reflecting not your image, but the eternal truth of your being. Even in times when the world challenges, when roles shift, and when circumstances threaten to overwhelm, the soul's armor remains. Its brilliance is constant. Only the attention must be returned. The knight who remembers walks with confidence, carrying the full weight of inner radiance. The soul never left. The armor was never lost. You only needed to recall its presence. And when you do, even the smallest act of remembrance rekindles a light that can never be extinguished. Chapter 10. The radiance that cannot be taken. There will come moments when everything around you feels stripped away. Health may falter, relationships may dissolve, titles, possessions, and achievements may vanish. The world may turn upside down, and what you thought to find you may crumble in an instant. In such moments, it is natural to feel exposed, vulnerable, or afraid. But there is something no one can take: the soul. The shining armor is not a gift from another. It is not dependent on approval, recognition, or circumstance. It is not something that can be earned, purchased, or borrowed. It has always been yours, and it has always been unassailable, even when the body is weak, the mind confused, and emotions stormy. The essence of who you are remains intact. This is the foundation of the night within, a strength that cannot be diminished, because it was never constructed from the shifting elements of the world. You may encounter loss and betrayal. You may face injustice, misunderstanding, or failure. And yet, beneath every external shift, the soul stands steady, luminous, untouchable. Its brilliance is not diminished by circumstance, only sometimes obscured by attention turned outward instead of inward. The eternal armor carries lessons of resilience. It does not panic, it does not despair, it does not collapse under the weight of change. It shines quietly, even when the night is darkest, guiding the way forward. To remember this is to reclaim power. No matter how much the world strips away, the essence of the self cannot be stolen. Fear cannot dismantle it. Criticism cannot tarnish it. Circumstance cannot corrupt it. The radiance of the soul is sovereign. This does not mean life will be easy. Storms will still batter. Pain will still rive. The body will still weaken. And the world will continue to change. But the inner night walks unshaken, armor intact, sword in hand, purpose clear, integrity maintained. When everything external falls away, the soul remains. It is the victory that cannot be lost, the light that cannot be dimmed, the armor that cannot rust. And in that truth, you are invincible, Conclusion. The eternal knight. You are not merely a body passing through time. You are not only the roles you play, the successes you achieve, or the challenges you survive. Beneath every experience, beneath every change, beneath every mask the world may see, there is a presence that does not waver. This presence is the soul, the eternal knight, the shining armor, the light that cannot be extinguished. The path of knighthood is not measured by victories over others, nor by the applause of the crowd. It is measured by alignment, the courage to act from truth, the discipline to maintain integrity, the wisdom to discern, and the devotion to walk with purpose. Each step in this path polishes the armor that was always yours, revealing a radiance untouched by fear, loss, or circumstance. Life will continue to test you. Storms will rise. Relationships will challenge you. Health, wealth, and status will rise and fall. Yet the soul's armor remains. It has always remained. Even when forgotten, even when obscured by doubt or distraction, it endures, waiting to be remembered and reclaimed. The knight within is not separate from you. It is who you are. Every act of courage, every moment of honesty, every choice aligned with your deepest truth is a declaration of your knighthood. Every pause to reflect, every effort to discern, every act of love and compassion is a polishing of the armor. Walk through the world knowing that the ultimate strength is already within. Stand in storms with confidence, move through uncertainty with clarity, and act in life with purpose. The armor is not something to be earned. It is not something to be proven. It is what has always been, radiant and indestructible. Remember it, live it, shine. You are the eternal knight. Your armor has always been shining. Your soul has always been whole, and that truth is yours to carry forever.